Welcome to Watchman Tales. The night is quiet, but your fear is about to get loud. Tonight, we face 3 true stories of terrible chance and dangerous encounters. These are tales of ordinary people thrust into moments where life hung by a thread, where a simple curiosity, a subway ride, or a desperate need for cash put them in the path of absolute terror. Dim the lights, settle in, and try to keep your hands steady. I've always hated camping. The dirt, the bugs, the uncomfortable nights. It was torture. But my dad, a true wilderness enthusiast, forced me every summer. By high school, I convinced him to let me bring my friend, Charles. Charles was an Eagle Scout and actually loved camping, but he was cool about my misery. Our trip went sideways from the start. A messed-up booking landed us at a crappy, overdeveloped campsite. We had indoor bathrooms and paved walkways. Worst of all, right next door was a mini amusement park with roller coasters and a Ferris wheel. Everyone was pissed. This wasn't real camping. Late that night, Charles had an idea. The amusement park. Specifically, climbing the biggest roller coaster. It was a thrilling, stupid idea, and I was in. After waiting for the adults to fall asleep, we grabbed our flashlights and slipped out. The fence was easy to scale. Inside, the park was pitch black and silent, punctuated only by the distant hum of security golf carts making their rounds. We felt like characters in a stealth video game, ducking behind snack shacks and arcade buildings. It was adrenaline-fueled terror. We reached the base of the coaster and started up the maintenance stairs. The metal rungs clanged softly under our sneakers, and the climb was terrifying, especially the sections with no railings. When we reached the top, the view was incredible. We could see the entire dark expanse of the park below. We took one quick, shaky photo, realizing we couldn't stay long. Getting caught up here meant serious trouble. We started our descent and made our way back through the park. The return route felt faster, but we had to stop near the fence when a guard on a golf cart passed by. We dropped quickly behind a small utility building. That's when I saw it. In the faint darkness, about 30 feet away, I saw movement. Another figure was crouched down, hiding just like us. I thought it might be another kid, but Charles nudged me and pointed. We both focused on the shadow. It didn't move for a long time, but I had a chilling certainty it was looking directly at us. The air thickened. We couldn't move. The guard was still nearby. Then, the figure darted across a small patch of open ground, briefly passing through the spill of light from a nearby street lamp. In that split second, I saw him clearly. It was a man, disheveled and wearing tattered clothes. His movement was awkward, almost painful, like he was injured, but what froze the blood in my veins was the dark, viscous liquid smeared across his face and upper chest. It looked like fresh blood. Charles and I exchanged a terrified glance. The figure ducked out of sight. As soon as the guard passed, we scrambled out, scaling the fence and dropping back into the safety of the campsite. We didn't exchange a single word, focused only on getting back to our tent. There was no joking or laughter that time. We just lay in our sleeping bags, trying to rationalize what we had seen. The best we could come up with was a severely injured homeless man. The next morning, everything was normal until about 10 a.m. A camp staffer came to our site. They announced that due to an incident, everyone had to pack up and leave. A man had been stabbed and killed the night before at a lake about 4 miles from the campground. The killer was still on the loose. The staffer then provided a description requested by the local sheriff's office. A disheveled white male in his late 30s, possibly shirtless and with blood on his clothes or body. Charles and I instantly connected the dots. It was the man we saw. We kept our mouths shut. We told no one. I know I should have spoken up. My statement could have led to the killer's capture. But at that age, the fear of getting into trouble, of having my dad find out we snuck out to the amusement park, was more immediate than the moral obligation. Years later, I still kick myself for that decision. I don't know if that killer was ever caught, but the thought that Charles and I were mere feet away from a murderer on the run, hiding with him in the darkness, is a heavy, chilling piece of my history. It's a terrifying secret we'll carry forever.
This happened back in October of 2016, right when that bizarre, sickening clown sightings hysteria was sweeping the country. Every news report, every social media feed was saturated with images and shaky cell phone videos of people dressed up, lurking in the woods or standing silently by roadsides. Most of it, thankfully, turned out to be hoaxes or pathetic attention seekers, but there were a few incidents, a dark, undeniable core of them that were genuinely terrifying. What happened to me was one of those real ones. It was a terrifying, singular moment that shattered the safety I took for granted. I was 16, a junior in high school, just finishing up my 7th period. It was a dreary Wednesday afternoon, the kind where the light outside already feels thin and tired. After saying quick goodbyes to my friends, I headed straight for the subway station. I caught the 6 train heading uptown, settling into one of the sparsely occupied cars. It was strange. The car was usually packed at this hour, but today it was almost empty. I wasn't being attentive to my surroundings at all. I had my headphones in, volume cranked up, blasting music. And to make matters worse, my head was buried in my phone. I was frantically reviewing chemistry flashcards, trying to cram for a test the next morning. I was about as unaware and vulnerable as a person could be. Never a good state to be in when traveling alone in the city, but I knew the route well enough to feel complacent. The train rattled and groaned, finally slowing as it approached the 96th Street station. I stood up instinctively, barely glancing up to confirm the stop. With my head still bent over the flashcards, lost in the noise of the music, I made my way to the doors. As the doors hissed and slid open, I was about to step out onto the platform when my peripheral vision registered something alien, something wrong. Something was blocking my path. I finally looked up, and the sight made the bottom of my stomach drop out. It wasn't a normal person. It was a clown. He was wearing the complete, grotesque caricature: oversized, baggy rainbow pants, a stained yellow shirt with fat red suspenders, and massive, clumsy-looking red shoes. His face was covered in a thick, exaggerated layer of white makeup. It was the full, unsettling cartoon nightmare. The only thing missing was the brightly colored wig, which somehow made the look even more unsettlingly human. I was instantly, completely frozen in shock. Not only was I caught off guard, but the entire clown craze had felt distant. Now here I was, trapped, in painfully close proximity to this bizarre, silent figure. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stood there, planted in the doorway, clearly preventing me from getting off the train. I snapped out of my daze. I knew I maybe had 5 seconds before the doors would try to close. My mind screamed, "Move!" I had to do something. I tried to pivot, to brush past him, to squeeze through the gap between his massive form and the doorframe. The literal moment I made contact, it moved. He lurched down in one quick, unnatural, fluid motion, like a mechanism suddenly engaging. He was trying to bring his painted, terrifying face level with mine, trying to make sure we were eye to eye before he could grab me. Pure instinct took over. I shoved past him hard and sprinted, stumbling onto the platform. That's when he came after me. He didn't stumble or hesitate. He lunged forward in an aggressive attempt to tackle me. I dodged the grab and kept running, my heart slamming against my ribs. He started chasing me. It was absolute, unadulterated terror. There was absolutely no one else in the train car. The 96th Street station, being relatively quiet in the mid-afternoon, felt vast and empty. I was completely on my own, being chased by a nightmare in a costume. I risked a glance behind me as I ran toward the stairs. I saw him pursuing me, and the sight was sickening. His stride wasn't normal. He was running with this disturbing, jerky, disjointed motion, like a mechanism that wasn't quite right. But I was no longer looking at his strange gait, my eyes locked onto the chilling reality of what he was holding in his hand. It was a large kitchen knife. I don't know where he pulled it from, but it was glinting faintly in the station light. Its presence changed everything. This was no prank. This was no joke. I was being chased by a killer. I didn't slow down, tearing up the stairs that led out to the street. I burst out of the station and immediately pulled out my phone, dialing 911 while still running a safe distance away. He didn't follow me onto the street. He stayed in the depths of the subway station. But I was uncontrollably shaking. I couldn't stop looking over my shoulder. The police arrived quickly and searched the station, but he was long gone. They reassured me, told me I was safe, but the reassurance meant nothing. The irrational, chilling thought repeated in my mind. He saw my face. He knows this route. He's going to find out where I live and track me down later. That didn't happen, thankfully. The incident ended there. But it took me weeks, maybe months, to truly recover. I changed my entire routine. I stopped wearing headphones on the subway. I would obsessively scan the doors at every stop, anticipating that ridiculous, terrifying figure to appear again. Every person in bulky clothes, every sudden movement sent a spike of pure adrenaline through me. That encounter wasn't just a funny story that made the news. It was a core memory of fear. Of that unsettling silence, the aggressive lunge, and the sight of that knife. That killer clown wasn't playing a game, and I was damn lucky to have just been fast enough to survive his pursuit. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most cartoonish villains are the most horrifying in real life. A couple of years out of college, I was desperate for cash. I was scrolling through job listings when I found something intriguing. A private lifeguarding job at a hotel. The pay was fantastic, $30 an hour. The listing had two strange details. First, the hours were bizarre, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Second, and most bizarre, the job explicitly requested an individual who did not speak Spanish. I am half Mexican and fluent in Spanish. I decided to ignore the requirement and pretend I didn't know the language. $30 an hour was too good to pass up. I was invited to an interview. On my first day, a friendly, pudgy guy named Esteban greeted me. But then a taller man, Honfe, walked up and started speaking to me aggressively in Spanish, clearly testing me. I gave him a blank stare, pretending I didn't understand a word. He and Esteban burst out laughing, calling it a joke. Honfei explained the late hours were for increased revenue, charging non-guests to use the pool. He said they wanted a non-Spanish speaker to avoid rowdy outsiders bothering me. I didn't buy it, but I went along. My responsibilities were standard, but with one critical addition. If anyone showed me a blue wristband, I was to let them into the pool house, a large, locked building behind my stand. I asked no questions. The first few weeks were easy. Then the wristband wearers started arriving. They were always tough-looking, and after they left the pool house, their backpacks looked significantly heavier. My suspicions soared when I noticed I was collecting far too much money. Non-guests were consistently overpaying by huge amounts. I called Honfei about it, and he dismissed me. He hung up on me mid-sentence. In that instant, I knew. I was involved in money laundering, at the very least. The pool house was clearly a front for something illegal. My hands were clean, but I was an accessory, blinded by the easy cash. The patrons, especially the wristband wearers, got comfortable with me. They started talking in Spanish, and I listened. Bits and pieces of their conversations confirmed my worst fears. I was working for criminals. A few days later, I saved Honfei's son from drowning in the pool. Honfei was genuinely thankful. The next day, Esteban and Honfei toasted me with wine. But one of the men then gave a toast in Spanish, a dark, sickening speech about the money they were making and the lives they were destroying. That moment was the breaking point. The guilt hit me. The next day, my mother called me at my post. She only speaks Spanish, so I had to answer her in Spanish. When I hung up and turned around, Esteban was standing directly in my path, staring at me. He looked completely different, only a cold, hard gaze. He asked me in Spanish, "How long have you known Spanish?" I lied, saying I was just practicing. He saw right through me. My heart was pounding. I genuinely thought he was debating whether to hurt me. After a terrifying pause, he just said, "Okay," and walked away. A few minutes before my shift ended, he came back, tipped me a couple $100, and told me to come an hour earlier the next day for a new opportunity. I never returned. I was too close. They knew I knew their secret. Leaving was my only option. I spent months in a paranoid wreck, convinced they would find me. The new opportunity had to be something that would permanently implicate me. I was lucky I got out when I did. 3 different environments, 3 brushes with pure malevolence. Remember that fear isn't always a shadowy figure in the woods. Sometimes it's the cold reality of a desperate person or the chilling gaze of a criminal who knows you know too much. If you have a true tale of terror you want to share, send it to Watchman Tales. Until next time, keep your wits about you and be careful what you overlook in the pursuit of an easy dollar. Good night.
You've seen their stories, but the darkness has only